So tell me, so what's going on now with this court case?
Okay, so in 2021, a man onboarded Giggle and he got on. Now, that was not something that was like an event in any way, shape, or form. Because so with the AI, we had it set to 94% accuracy. We had done testing and seen that 94% accuracy meant no woman got rejected unless it was like that pixelated or blurry thing, like as I was saying. And occasionally a man would get on, but rightly or wrongly, we made the decision that we didn't want any barriers for women, and we would just remove a man if he got on. Simple as that. So this particular man did get on. I don't remember removing him because, as I said, it wasn't an event. Like, I removed many men, and like the AI overall worked, especially when we were under attack and there was like thousands of men an hour trying to get on. Because sometimes they did go through, like it would go viral on Twitter or like Twitch, whatever those gaming things are. They'd be taking the selfie and leaving reviews. And this would happen like once a month, every 6 weeks. It was like always intense, and you'd have to be there for like 48 hours, survive the attack, whatnot. So I don't remember doing it, but it would have been me. I just removed a man from the app, basically. When he became someone of note in my life was in October 2021. He called and texted my phone, and it was something to the effect of like, hi, I'm trying to get onto the app. I don't remember if he said that he had a gender identity then. I don't recall. But because the only data that we had for a user was their phone number, because that's like the anchor that anchors a user to the app, so the app would work. Like, everyone has to have something, whether it's email or phone number. So I just typed the phone number into the Giggle server, and I saw a picture of a man, and I was like, that's a man. I called my dad, and I said, there's this guy. He's called and texted my phone. I'm a bit freaked out. No one else had ever done that. So we'd always be under attack and everything, but no one had ever called and texted my phone. And my dad said to me, block his number, forget about it, and don't tell your mother. Because my mum sees all the death threats that women get constantly. She lives in fear a bit. She's a protective, good mum. So I did that. I didn't tell mum. I just tried to like forget about it. It did freak me out. And then on the 20th of January 2022, I got an Australian Human Rights Commission complaint for gender identity discrimination from this person, Roxy Tickle.
Roxy Tickle's the username.
Roxy Tickle's his legal name.
Roxy Tickle's his legal name?
Roxanne Tickle, yeah.
For God's sake.
My last name is Grover, so I'll defend him on this one thing. But
Tickle's not the real name, is it?
Yeah. And my last name is actually like a Muppet. So like sometimes we all just have ridiculous names.
Tickle's just, but you don't know that. He might have chosen that.
Yeah, I don't know.
There is the Thick of It episode, you know?
Yeah.
Tickle,
yes,
Mr.
yes,
Tickle.
I've heard of this.
So, okay, people are called that, and they were saying, no, it's Tickle. But
Yeah,
okay, Tickle, Roxanne Tickle, because let's be honest, that sounds like a porn star name.
Well, that's why, like, if it's maybe he said his name when he texted me, I'm not sure, but like he could have, but I just feel like I would have remembered it.
Mm-hmm.
Tickle, Roxanne Tickle or Roxy Tickle's a memorable name. It's not like John Smith. Like you hear it and you go, I'm never going to forget that name. I surely am not going to now. But
the issue is, I guess, a lot of trans people are very serious about what they're doing, but some appear to have a fetish, which AGP, autogynephilia. And somebody who gives themselves some kind of stage name like that and then expects to be welcome onto a women's only safe space app seems just bonkers.
I mean, I don't think any of them are that serious, to be honest.
Well, who knows? You know, it's such a complex thing. None of us know how it works.
No, look, I mean, I don't want anyone to be in distress with their like body or anything, but I think that's what you should go and get fixed and you know, learn to accept the reality of, you know, who you are and that what things can't change. I think that would be a really healthy way of helping anybody who had any sort of distress about who they are, not lying to them and then trying to force everyone else in on the lie. That's just not something it's not working, is it? And it's not sustainable.
No, I agree. And I'm not sure that I believe that that you can be, I don't even know if that's necessarily a thing, but there's also got to be a differentiation when we talk about them between those who are sincere and who genuinely believe they are this, you know, they are a woman and they want to be a woman in whatever that means to them, even if we don't agree with that. And then some of them who are like, I'm having a porn star name and I want to go in a women's app.
I mean, I agree with you in the sense of like anyone can believe whatever they want about themselves. You can believe that you're like the spaghetti monster.
Sure.
Like, fine. But how seriously do I, or sincerely do I have to take that belief? Because it's a thing of be kind. It's like when I realized that we were being told to be kind, but it was at the expense of cruelty to women. So men saying that they are women is actually like incredibly harmful to women, as we're seeing. So I don't really care how sincerely a guy thinks it. He's wrong. He's delusional. And he's welcome to think it. And if it makes him get out of bed every morning and live his best life, okay. But the moment he's trying to make me or anyone else believe it, we've got a problem. And that's the situation that we're in. So I just think that when we're trying to extend that sincerity or kindness, let's not forget women in that equation, because that's the problem, is that we're being forgotten about. And here we are, we're like fighting tooth and nail for our rights to just literally be a legal sex class in law that men cannot identify into.
Do you feel like some of the ridiculousness of some of the trans rights activism has actually pushed you further away from, because the initial giggle, I think it was the FAQ, frequently asked questions, said, oh, we accept trans people.
Females with a trans identity were always welcome. So when we were being called transphobic, it was like, but no one has stopped to think of females with a trans identity.
Sure.
Because what am I supposed, if there's a female, am I supposed to know that she actually thinks of herself as a cloud gender? I don't care.
Are they still allowed then, biological women who believe that they're men? Although why would they want to be in it?
I've talked to a few, because there's sort of quite a few gender critical women who believe themselves to be men, or, I think they're coming back to the other side now, but whatever language you want to use there. They were like, cool, thanks. I mean, they're like, I'd sort of stay away from it, but it's nice to know that if there was a place there, like if I needed it, I could use it. There are some women in certain parts of the world where being sort of sex non-conforming, so sort of being very much like the tomboy, or I should say toy boy, no, tomboy.
That's Roxy. Roxy Tickle, the toy boy.
But, being like a tomboy, or just, sort of like, or a butch lesbian or something, is beyond frowned upon, like they're sort of shunned. And so they did come on Giggle, and they sort of found each other and would talk. So great. Like, I didn't ask if they had a gender identity. I don't care. It's literally the only prerequisite to use the app was to be female. So whenever anyone is coming at me, it's like about transphobia, they're not thinking about females with a trans identity. I am.
How is this being upheld then by the court? Like, tell me how, because I'm a bit of a novice with the whole court stuff.
Well, so am I. I'm still like, every day my mind gets absolutely blown, because I'll preface everything I'm saying is I'm not a lawyer. I've had to learn this along the way and be like, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
So basically, I got the Australian Human Rights Commission complaint, and I very much what my instinct is that from the beginning they were treating me as if I was guilty. No discussion, like, you have to do what we say. And I was going, I have done nothing wrong. This person is a man. He can think whatever he wants about himself, but that's really the beginning and end all of it for me. Like, I wish him all the best.
Sure.
But so I got a solicitor. We went back and forth. In the Australian Human Rights Commission, that's where you can settle an issue. Like, so someone's made a complaint, and you can settle it before it escalates to court. And you go to what's called conciliation, which is kind of like a mediation or something. But for me to settle it in the Australian Human Rights Commission, I would have had to let him on the app, let all men who claim to be women on the app, go to sex and gender education, and moderate the content of the app so not to offend men who claim to be women.
Okay.
And I was just like, no.
Yeah.
I'm not going to agree to any of that. And when the week I got the Australian Human Rights Commission complaint, I was 15 weeks pregnant at that time. So as we were going back and forth, I was just getting more and more stressed. This is just hell. And by the time it would have come time to that sort of conciliation thing, I was like, no, I don't want to put myself through this. I'm not going to agree to anything. There is no point. I'm not going to agree to it. Sex
and gender education.
It could only be re-education because I'm at this point, like, while say 2019, I had no concept of sex and gender, or like of this conflict or there being a thing of gender identity. Now I have spent 24/7 for 4 years studying it. I could teach the class.
Yeah.
And I could definitely do a better job than the people who are currently teaching it.
Well, they'd be teaching something else, presumably.
I mean, they're just teaching that, your gender identity is more important than sex, and that everyone has a gender identity. Like, I don't have a gender identity.
No, I don't have one.
Yeah, in a way, I kind of do wish that I'd gone to the gender identity course just to take notes and expose it, but it was just not the time. As I said, pregnant, that was priority for me.
You know what though, like with the court cases and stuff, we often hear about like, oh yeah, this person wanted to sue me or whatever it is, but we don't think about the actual moment you get like that letter or you get an email. You like your because I've had a couple of those. Your stomach just turns in knots, doesn't it?
Like just takes your breath away. Hairs on the back of your neck stand up. You just in some way life's going to be different, if not forever, but for a portion of time. When the litigation part of it started, my solicitor said, by the end of this, you will never want to do litigation again. I was like, well, I'm in day 3 and I never want to do it again. Yeesh. It definitely hasn't gotten better than it was then. But so because I declined conciliation, he could then take it to the federal court. So you have 60 days to be able to do that. He did it. He filed in federal court on the 60th day. I got a barrister. We were getting ready to do the first response to it. And then he withdrew. And we were utterly shocked. My mum and I were putting together baby furniture in my little girl's room. I was like, I think I was a week away from giving birth at this point. And I was like, it's over. Like, is that it? Did we just stand our ground and we can move on with our lives now? So then basically just to put some things in context, that was July 2022. My daughter was born in August 2022. We actually made the decision to take the app off the App Store and Google Play. It wasn't connected to any of this. We'd spent all this time treading water. Technology changes. We had to do updates. We're in a shoestring startup budget. We're not Elon. We can't do a huge new build while simultaneously running it. So we were like, okay, we'll take it offline, do the new build, launch it, have more control over it. Hopefully we're in a different position. It'll all be great. Before we could launch it, he refiled in federal court on that same claim. Oh. So now he was what's called like 260 days out of time. So he actually had to get permission from the federal court for it to go ahead. So I got served. Oh, no, sorry, I didn't get served. I found out about it on New Year's Eve 2022 because the Guardian newspaper wrote the one article they've ever written about it, just saying Roxanne Tickle's taking Giggle to court. And everyone was sending me the article going, you're going back to court. I'm like, what? I hadn't been served yet. But I got served like 2 weeks later. Barristers and solicitors started working on everything. Then in April last year, case management hearing, the judge allowed it to go ahead because it's in the public interest. And he's right. It is in the public interest. And there's a reason for that. The law, what you were saying before, how does this law work? Okay, so I did not know this. So Australia has the Sex Discrimination Act. And it was put into law in 1984, which is going to be a date that you go, how convenient, what a coincidence of all the years when you hear more of this story. So the Sex Discrimination Act was obviously for biological sex. It's for women and girls primarily, and all was going great. Our Sex Discrimination Act is based on CEDAW, which is the Convention of the Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. It is a UN convention signed by 189 countries around the world, the UK being one of them. Mm-hmm. It is essentially an international Bill of Rights for women. It is what a lot of our laws, our sex discrimination laws, are based on, yours included. The UK Parliament has ratified CEDAW. But what's unique about Australia is that we incorporated it into our law basically in full. Our Sex Discrimination Act is CEDAW. So we are in a very good position to defend CEDAW, Australia and New Zealand, actually. So CEDAW is biological. Our Sex Discrimination Act is biological. But in 2013, under Australia's first female Prime Minister.
Oh, women.
I'll never get over it. Under the Gillard government, they brought in these amendments where they took out the definition of sex and man and woman, and they put in gender identity. And they gave it a definition, but it's something to the effect of gender identity is gender identity. Like something about mannerisms. It's like It's like nothing.
It doesn't make sense.
It
was she quite
circular.
woke? Was she woke prime minister?
Apparently. I mean, even now, I would have so much respect for her if she turned around now and went, "Oh God, I'm really sorry, I got that wrong. I just didn't think it through, or I wasn't really aware of it. It was just under my government. I'll help you fix it." I'd have a lot of respect for that. I like people who can admit they got something wrong. No, she has. There's been a few instances where she has talked about it. I think it's a no-go zone now. I don't think she'd go to any event where there was a possibility she'd be asked about it. But she has said, you know, a woman is anyone who thinks they're a woman. And you're like, you have dined out on your misogyny speech for 10 years. If anyone can identify as a woman, you being Australia's first woman prime minister is not even an achievement. Any one of them could just identify as it. Makes me so angry.
Yeah.
So
you got that New Zealand woman, Jacinda something.
Yeah, she's the same.
Right. There's a Scottish woman. What's her name?
Nicola Sturgeon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Turkey's voting for Christmas.
Yeah. I've got lots of theories about it. I think that there's a certain type of woman that once she gets into that sort of position of power, one like doesn't want anyone to sort of know she's a woman almost at that point. You know what I mean? Doesn't want attention brought to it, and so quite happy to throw other women under the bus. Like, I'm the one that got here. Don't bring attention to the fact I'm a woman. Don't make me seem vulnerable or whatever it is. Yeah,
Where would Thatcher stand on this?
I think she was probably sensible on this issue. I'm not sure. I don't know British politics as well, but I mean, a lot of my information of Margaret Thatcher is through like Meryl Streep.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not as political. Well, I wasn't as political as I've sort of become now.
Yeah.
But so basically they muddled our Sex Discrimination Act. And so it's like, what is it? Is it sex? Is it gender identity? No one knows because it hasn't been challenged. So suddenly this case came along, and while it's seemingly just a case about some guy wanting to get on a little app that was floundering at best, it has become this case that is the first case in the world to directly tackle what is a woman and sex versus gender identity, and why it is so important globally is because of CEDAW. We're in this actual position to defend women's rights internationally. I just wanted to create an app. So this is not what I signed up for, but that's
when will this all be decided?
Well, the first hearing for it, well, the only hearing is in 2 weeks on April 9th to the 12th. There won't be a verdict for a while. Like, they take their time with that.
Weeks or months or years?
Months, like mid-year.
Okay. And
just after mid-year, yeah.
And then we'll know basically in the Western world whether you're allowed to have a women's only space. Yeah,
well, basically whether women have rights in international law, whether we are a unique legal class of people who men cannot identify into, basically. That's what we will find out.
I just can't believe we've gotten to this point. And
Sam, how did they let it happen?